All right, welcome back to the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. My name is Clint Knight. I am flying solo without Jacob this week because he's feeling a little bit under the weather. So, brother, we're missing you, and we look forward to getting you back on the show next week when we get the next one recorded. But I'm excited to be joined here today by Charlie Vest, who is relatively new at Atomic Speedway. And we got a lot to talk about because you guys rolled your schedule out and some exciting things to talk about there. But I want to just dive right in and let's learn a little bit about Charlie Vest, what your background is in racing, how you grew up in racing, and your adventures that led you south and back up. So first, you got
it. Sorry. there's the first edit.
That's drop the phone there. So first, you gotta tell us where you grew up. I'm excited to share the name of the town. I just learned a new name of a city in Ohio.
Yeah. So I grew up in Knockemstiff, which is about, I would say, as the crow flies, it's about 3.5, 4 miles from the racetrack. So I grew up listening to the cars, and it rumbles. Southern Ohio is a beautiful rural community. In Ross County. We're right on the edge of like Ross County and Pike County. And it's very, very scenic. It's really pretty. And it's in one of the poorest townships in the county. So for it to be as cool as it is, that's what a lot of people I don't think really appreciate about Atomic or can appreciate is where it is and what it is. It's a gem. I mean, it's a hidden gem. But so I grew up in a little burg or town or village or whatever you want to call it, called Knockemstiff. It's real. Look at it. You look it up. It's on the map. I'm sure it's not incorporated, but it's got a sign. So, but yeah, I grew up there, and I had a blast, and I was one of those kids. I wasn't a very tame child. I was always kind of doing. We were always kind of out in the hills raising hell and doing what a lot of country kids do, and. Got out of high school and really wasn't real sure what I was doing, or that's probably a huge understatement, what I was doing, because I was doing whatever and moved to Central Florida. I had a friend of mine who had asked me to come down. His parents were down there, and he actually went to school with me. It's Huntington. That's the school district for where Atomic is. And we were, as I was growing up, we didn't even have the money for pit passes. I mean, we would go to the races, and it was everything that we could go, once every couple of months. And my dad was all into sprint cars. He loves them. And but we were fans. I mean, we were never involved with racing. I mean, that's one of the things I wish I would have done, was got involved a lot earlier. But went to Central Florida and went to school there, and then graduated, and went. Kind of came back for a stint and then went back to Florida, and that's kind of where I called home for almost 20 years, around Orlando, Florida, and was pretty fortunate. Sold a business, wanted to had a financial advisor basically just say, hey, you need a real expensive hobby, and so I started. I mean, literally, started going to like racing schools and attempted to buy this one. It was the Kell Yarborough school at Lakeland, Lakeland Speedway. I think now it's on iRacing and it's a dirt track, but. Yeah, man, Lakeland was awesome. It was such a cool place. And started there. We started a little company leasing race cars around Central Florida. So we ran Orlando a lot, New Smyrna, up to Lake City, just all around. There's quite a few asphalt tracks. It was all asphalt, no dirt. And before you knew it, we had moved up and had some kids that were racing with us that wanted to go Hooters racing. Did some Hooters stuff, ended up doing some ARCA racing. Went truck racing, and then as the natural progression of life goes, I ended up running some ARCA races, and then owning a truck team, and then racing a little bit in the truck series. And then my daughter was born in 2011. Last time I was in a truck was 2012. So that was that. But when I got back to Ohio, I wanted to race. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Actually, the previous owner was a guy that I went to high school with. He's also from that same area. And I bought like a Volkswagen, was running like autocross races at fairgrounds, which is a blast. If anybody ever gets a chance, we're going to have an autocross race at Atomic. We're going to have a dirt road race with autocross. So we're going to run like Legends cars on a dirt road course. It's like a Roval, and we're calling it like a road rage event. Then we'll do the autocross, which if anybody that's ever seen any of the autocross events at the fairgrounds, man, they're so much fun. I mean, it's basically, derby cars on dirt bike tracks. I mean, that's what it is. And I wanted to integrate that. And that's where the road course, I talked to the gentleman, Steve that owns Brush Creek. And he's like, hey, we ran one. I was like, hell yeah, I want to do one too. So we just like to do, a lot of cool stuff. But, there was some things that happened at the track in August that kind of opened up an opportunity. And, we were kind of approached by one of the owners, and he and I started talking. And the next thing you know, we're, kind of taking over the management of it. And we figured, what the hell, and kind of jumped in with both feet and had kind of taken the track, not really in another direction. I mean, it's still a race venue, but I think we're a little bit more clear with the fact that we are an entertainment venue, and we're running Atomic more like an entertainment venue versus just blinded by racing. And I think that's what a lot of tracks are going to have to come to terms with.
So creating more of a variety throughout the season.
Yeah, that. And also we're focusing a lot on trying to find more things for the fans to do while they're there. I mean, I don't want them to show up at 7:00. I mean, I've watched guys literally, everybody gets mad around here, which is funny because in the rest of the country, nobody does it this way, but they're mad if the sprint cars don't run first. So you have a guy that walks in the gate, 10 after 7, doesn't even care about, qualifying, doesn't even care about, the first batch of heat races, wants to see an A main and go home. So I want to break that mindset. I want people to be like, hey, Saturday's a fun day. Somebody's like your Sunday fun day, but Saturday's a fun day. And then Atomic is where I want to be. And I want to give them an option where they don't break the bank to come to the track and eat and have fun, bring the kids. And, it should be a safe environment. It should be an environment where your kids can play, without just people eagle eyeing you. And with the way socially we live now, I think just to be able to relax and put your guard down and have some fun without always being so, anxious about, where your kids are and what's going on. And with Atomic and the small town feel that we have there, I think that's a benefit of the short tracks in the United States is we've got to take advantage of our culture. And how do we do that? Well, we show people, hey, this is a great place. This is a very, our fan base is very loyal, but they're that blue collar, high on moral group. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of like it takes a village to raise a child kind of a deal. I don't want to, get on a rant about it, but it is a bit different. I mean, it's not like a big city where you're constantly petrified. Where's my kids? Where's my kids? My girls can go and run and play, and it's a good time. So we're going to do like a fan zone, which helps integrate some of our new vendors and different things like that. And really give people an afternoon experience with racing. And the racing is the highlight, obviously. But, we're going to have a little RC car track and maybe some scavenger hunts and just stuff, and outdoor stuff too. Let's get back to where, when I was little, in the summer when, you didn't have school from daylight to dusk, man, you were outside. That's all you did. You're out playing in the creek, playing in the woods or playing football or doing something. And we got to drop these devices a little bit. We got to get back to, getting dirty and playing and, having fun. So.
Yeah, we were talking before we started recording here. We have kids in the same age range. I've got 4 between the ages of 12 and 4. And if you see me at the track, I've probably got 2 or 3 of them in tow, depending on who's playing softball or soccer that weekend. And they like that. They like playing in the dirt. And typically, my 8-year-old or my 4-year-old is good for 15 to 20 minutes of real racing, right? And there's got to be a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I did see, over the last year, there's been a lot of changes at Atomic, whether it's, structural, building changes or track changes. And you mentioned you hope to have an RC track.
Yeah.
What other new things that you could talk about that you have planned for this summer?
Man, it was, we just had our banquet last Friday, and I was only going to talk for a second and just kind of go over with the racers, like, hey, here's the things that we were doing. I ended up talking for almost an hour. I didn't even realize it until, I put the notes on my phone, and I was like, wow, like I'm like, maybe we did too much. Like, this is insane. But, one of the thing is we're putting fence around, which was per, Eric Walls and Tom Devitt. Eric Walls with the All Stars and Tom Devitt with the World of Outlaws came. Great guys, man. We had such a cool meeting, and I was kind of nervous because I'd always heard, how kind of hardcore these guys are and how hard they tell you this, and they're kind of bossy. And we had such a good meeting, and it wasn't like that at all. They love I don't think I fully appreciate maybe the heritage or the clout or whatever Atomic has, because people really, they want to be there. You know what I mean? Like, and it's my job just to fulfill the basic need, because they already want to come. You know what I mean? So as long as I don't screw that up and make it to where people don't want to come, they already want to come. It's a pretty cool facility. So we had a great meeting, and they just said, hey, from a safety standpoint, we need to do a couple of things here. And they brought up some concerns, and they were legit. You know what I mean? They were things that I'm like, all right, well, that all makes sense. And I want to do that. And I was really hoping, to get an all-star race. And man, when I thought, and that's kind of where the schedule started. I was like, oh man, if we could take over the track, we could get an all-star race, just one all-star race, run our normal deal. That would be great. That would be so awesome. And the next thing you know, we also had, an outlaw race. And I was like, well, hell, I'm already talking to these people. Let's see what else they got going on. And so I got to talking to Casey Schumann, and he's awesome. Carlton Ramers with World of Outlaws, he's awesome. Eric Walls, he's been awesome. And you call these guys, and it's just like, this conversation we're having. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? And I talked to Brian Carter the other day, with the World of Outlaws. Super nice guy, and you hear all these things ahead of time. So I have been pleasantly surprised, just because I didn't know. It wasn't that I thought they didn't know or thought they were bad people. I just had always heard these horror stories. And then when I get to talking to them, they're great. They're like, hey, this is why we got to do this. And they've been, really objective about their opinions and the things they want out of the racetrack. And so the fence is something that we're going to do all the way around the track where we have a wall they want to fence. Makes sense. We've had some horrible things happen where that's proven to be, something we have to do. They want rubber on top of the walls, on the concrete walls. Fantastic. I can abide by that. That's not a problem. We are adding a vendor fan zone when you come in the gate, so that this thing that I was talking about, the entertainment venue, where the fans now have something to do when they come in the gate. We're going to add more ticket booths. We're hoping when the World of Outlaw Sprint comes and late models and all those, and we've got 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people there. How do we get them in faster? How do we not make people stand in line and get frustrated? And as well as I do, wherever it is you go, if you go, it's like Disney. If you go to Disney, I'll give you a perfect example. We went to Dollywood. Don't ask me why, but we went to Dollywood in like October, and literally by the luck of the schedule, the bad luck of the schedule, we went on the worst day ever. And the lines were awful. So now my opinion of Dollywood is it sucks. We rode some rides, and it was awesome. And the stuff that was there was great, and the facility was great. But when you get on a waiting list for 4.5 hours to have lunch, you know what I mean? So my opinion of it was a little jaded. So if you come into a racetrack and have to wait an hour in line, you're already kind of frustrated. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to stop that. We're going to add 12 ticket windows. You know what? I want you in. I want you in the gate. I want you having fun and wanting to come back. Because if you can get in a facility and get to your seat and do the things you have to do, then you don't have, there's no reservation on coming back. You're like, hey man, we went in and got right in, and it was a lot of fun. So some of those barriers that we all have at the racetrack, we're trying to fix that. The other thing is we've signed up for and moving forward on getting stadium bleachers, which is an amazing feat, which unfortunately they're not going to make it up this year. But, hopefully coming into 2023, we will have stadium bleachers all the way across our front stretch, which is going to also increase our capacity, which is something else that we need to do. And it's really going to change the facade big time on our front stretch. I mean, it's going to look like a big time racetrack. It's going to go from kind of the local small, dirt track feel to, hold on a second, this place is really coming up. We're changing where we do our ceremony for our winners, because a lot of times on shows, when you have 4 and 5 classes, when you're doing everything on the front stretch, you got to hold up the next class to go. Well, we're going to move that so we can be more expeditious on getting the night done. We want everybody out there 10, 11 o'clock. If we can do that, if you can get 4 classes of racing in, real good, solid racing, and be out of there by somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock, that's the money spot. And that's our goal. And if we're really fast, we'll maybe start squeezing in that 5th division or 5th class, just to try to give people, and it's not because I'm trying to juice the back. It is because I'm trying to juice the back gate. But if I can juice the back gate and make everybody happy, and get out of there on time, well, guess what? You just got to watch another round of racing. So, why is that a problem? We're going to change some of the way we do our concessions. We're going to point of sale systems. We're putting concrete pads in the pits, because, like I've said a lot in a lot of interviews, we have front gate customers, we have back gate customers. And I know a lot of the promoters and owners in racing, which is weird because the 1st of August last year, I was a racer. The end of August, I was, helping run the place. So, what can I do? What were the things that I wanted to do when I was, racing, and to not roll around in the dirt? Awesome. Just to be able to, you've been around dirt track racing, it just tears your jacks up. All of your equipment just gets destroyed. So now we're on concrete pads, and, that'll be big. And that entices the All-Stars and the Outlaws and the Ironman series and the Renegade series and USAC, the new Extreme series that Casey Schumann's doing. They know now they can come to a facility and hopefully have, some of the bare essential stuff that makes them comfortable. We're upgrading the lighting. We're going to a lot of LED lighting. We're going to change. We're going to go with My Race Pass for our website provider. And that's going to help a ton, because it really helps with our registration and streamlining getting in the back gate. So you can see how my speech at the banquet went for an hour, because it just goes freaking on and on and on and on. But, some things are expensive to do, and some things aren't. Some things are just procedural, and it's just things logistically that we try to do better. We're doubling our staff to help with our schedule being as aggressive as it is. I can't expect people to be there every weekend. So I've got to be able to have some redundancy there to help people, and change some procedures coming in the back gate so that people get in without waiting, all the way out on the highway. That's big too. I hate lines. So that's a good thing with me. Like, I'm going to do everything I can to get people out of a line, because I know I hate it. And so anything I can do to expedite that wait, that's what I'm going to do.
So you're thinking about, for this year, your drivers will be able to register on My Race Pass to get in for 2022 season?
They can. You've got to work through some stuff when it comes to the liability document you have to sign when you come in the gate and things like that. But there's a way that you can still get them in the gate without the truck stopping, get them parked. And that's something that we're going to do, is even if you got to just let people out and then just keep the trucks moving, then that's what we're going to do. So there may still be some wait at the back gate, but we're going to try to speed it up. And as long as that we can do that and legally, follow the obligation that we have to have for the waivers and the things that have to be signed for insurance and all the things, that's what we're going to do. And we might even step out of the box a little bit and say, hey, wait a minute, why can't we do this? As many things that are digital electronic, something else that you and I didn't talk about, my industry that helped me pay for this stuff is technology. I've been in technology for years, and I plan to make Atomic one of the most technologically advanced facilities when it comes to definitely dirt track racing. And I'm going to utilize that technology to make it better and more efficient, more streamlined. Like, maybe we can start placing orders from our seats and having delivery for our food. There's no reason why we can't do that. Toast does it. I helped with setup of a couple of point of sale systems in the restaurant industry. And there's some things, because of COVID has really allowed us to break some of the barriers and the shells of our fears of, not wanting to physically handle things, where we can do things more electronic and trust that it's going to work. So maybe we'll do some drones and just airdrop some food, out of the sky. Maybe we'll figure that before Amazon does.
I don't think anything's off the table at this point.
Right.
That's all exciting to hear. some things that I haven't heard or thought about at a racetrack. You know, I haven't considered ordering food from my seat, but that's, you know, that would be an incredible addition to make sure you're not standing in line.
You know what I mean? Like on the edge of the bleachers, we could have like remote stations, and then we could take that food and say, you know, pick your stuff at remote station, you know, A1. And so it would just be like a little pickup area where the food would go to that pickup area and the fans don't have to wait in line. And then you can schedule those and break those out. You know what I mean? So it's just like going to Chipotle or Jimmy John's or any of those places that have a rack of food up. It's just like that. And so now it's tracked better. There's 11 reasons why that makes sense. And we can do that. I mean, it doesn't take anything to do that. And those are some of the things where, with us being new, we're not restricted by the old school thinking of walk up to the concession line. Because I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I start thinking about all the stuff I don't want to do, and I'm like, all right, let's fix that. Like, I don't want to wait. Especially, dude, you got 4 kids. You want to go stand in line for 21 minutes? Oh, exactly. No. You're better off just stand down there, grab it in a football, and throw it to you.
Right. Well, that's exciting. Atomic has got a long history, as you mentioned, you know, throughout your lifetime. For me, the racing surface, even seeing images of it before I even moved to Ohio, the nature of how, you know, it's banked has been a unique characteristic of it for me. I'm assuming that's all going to stay pretty much the same. Nothing done to the racing surface this year.
So we plan to add somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 tons of clay. As soon as we can get a freaking break in the weather. I mean, you're in Ohio, but we're going to have a lot of clay. We're going to stick to the banking the way it is. You know, and I've been getting a hold of and getting, you know, Danny Smith lives here close, you know, Hall of Fame, 410 guy. So I've got a plethora of knowledge that I can pull from. And I utilize guys like that. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about doing this. And, you know, what do you think? And, you know, the good thing about those guys is I've got to know them well enough. They'll just say, hey, you're an idiot. Like, don't do that. Don't screw it up. You know, that's bad. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, what do you think about this? And I can call guys like Danny and Cole Duncan. And, you know, I've got to know Todd Kane. And, you know, you gotta pull from these guys. I mean, they've got this knowledge. They've been racing for years. Cole and Rodney Duncan, you know, they've been real helpful. I mean, they're the ones that kind of really helped me, you know, kind of get in line with Eric Walls, and because they want the track to succeed. You know, I mean, they love that racetrack. And there's a lot of guys like that are sorry, I don't know if that went off or not. That was a call trying to come in. But I'm pulling from their knowledge, and especially guys like Danny, where I'm like, hey man, like, you know, I want to do this, I want to do that. And a lot of times he's like, yeah, that ought to work. But that's where we need to get the surface down, do some testing, because, you know, you're only, you know, a grader away from changing it. But we're going to go to the, you know, kind of the high banked, you know, kind of a varied pitch when it comes to the banking. And we want to increase the competition on the bottom and the middle, because we don't want guys just up rim riding and everybody follows in line. I mean, we had some races. We really, we had Jim Neer come in and help. Jimmy has been, I mean, you couldn't even imagine how helpful that guy has been on getting that surface right. You know, he came in the Monday after we took over, and he's like, hey, because it was getting to the point where there wasn't enough clay and it was peeling up real bad. It was getting bad rough. I mean, I bounced my car out of the park there a couple times. Actually, the last one I just tore up testing. And, you know, we knew we had to get these bumps out of there, because a sprint car at 120 miles an hour doesn't take much to dislodge that thing. And we actually found out some more things when we did the 3D scan, because the track's going to be iRacing, and we realized that the banking, the pitch of it was varied. I mean, it would go 18, 16, you know, and it was just not consistent surface. And we're trying to make it more consistent, more hard packed, to make it smooth, to where we're not so much worried about the walls and the fence anymore, because we're not bouncing up into them. You know what I mean? It's a nice, smooth, competitive, and you set your car up, you can run the bottom and be fast. That's the key. And, you know, we want it to do what they all do. They dust off, they slick up, and give you just a great A main. And those are the things that we're trying to do. And we lucked out. We found clay like 5 miles from the racetrack, which is going to be super helpful for us. And it's that real good red. It's a real good red, you know, high clay content substrate. So we're really excited to get it going and get it dumped down. And the surface at the end of the year last year, we had a lot of positive comments on how good it was. And the smoothness was the thing. We had to smooth it out. Again, I got tired of getting bounced out of the track, and I knew, I'm like, I don't care what we got to do. Like, we got to get this thing smoothed out. We can't. I mean, there's been nights when I was talking to Cole, and Cole basically just held his breath and was like, well, hope I make it back. Hope I drive this thing on four wheels back into the pits versus ended up over the wall somewhere. And I think we did that. And now we just gotta, hopefully we just don't screw it up. And anytime you add that much dirt to a racetrack, you've got to be real careful, not to screw it up. And we got a Lucas race third weekend of March, on a Friday. So we have a lot of work to do, and it's going to be really fun just because of all the positive feedback that we've gotten, especially at the end of the year. We had a lot of momentum going into the off season, and I want to pick right back up. If I can get Rick Schwally in that Lucas series, to really give us some positive comments, that's my goal. Because if they like your racing, then just keep doing what you're doing and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective there. I mean, when you think about the drivers are able to really just drive the race car and not play defense against the racetrack. When you give them that surface, it changes everything. Not just from a safety, most importantly from a safety aspect, but then the racing, you get to see the drivers what they do, what they came to do.
Yeah, the confidence and the arrogance comes blaring out, when they think, Now, whether or not they just go flipping down the backstretch, that's on them. I just don't want it to be my fault. Like, if you want it to be your fault, please do. I don't want it to be my fault.
I saw a comment on Facebook recently that said, turn to, when you're going in, I don't remember what the racetrack they were talking about, but it doesn't matter. But they were saying if when you go into turn 2, you can bank on losing your girlfriend, your religion, and your race car.
That could have been Atomic.
It wasn't Atomic because it was recent. Well, let's talk about the schedule here really quick before we run out of time. You mentioned let me back up before we dive into that. When we saw the schedule come out, we've always had some great races at Atomic, but man, this year was a bombshell drop of a schedule. You mentioned that you start early in March. You got the demo derby and then the enduro, but then Lucas Oil late models coming in on March 18th, which will be late models on the track beginning of the year, and then the next night OVSCA comes in with the sprints.
Yep. So part of the reason why we got so aggressive on the schedule is part of the deal to buy the track. We also are adding camping, and a lot of camping. And we want people now to show up and, hang out, party for the weekend at Atomic. Again, entertainment venue, and camping is big in our neck of the woods, down here in Southern Ohio. A lot of people camp. They love to camp. So, what can I do there? How can I help that? Well, people also have ATVs and UTVs. So let's just say maybe in a couple of years, there's a plan to have, an off-road park that people can come, camp, ride their ATVs, UTVs, and go watch some racing. Like, that's kind of where we're trying to think out of the box and combo it. But that's why we have so many multi-day shows. I want people to show up and I want them to stay. And we can do that with camping. And, if a single night pass costs you $20 and you can add that second night for 30, and I'm going to show you some of the best, national late models, and you're going to follow it up with some of the best local sprint cars, why wouldn't you stay? Stay for that night, have a good time. And that's kind of the goal, is to get people to come to the track. We go from that show directly the next weekend to the Super Big Block Modifieds. We're not playing around. I'm like, hey, because I believe those are two different groups of fans. And that's something that I really, I bet the house on it. I bet the house that we have different groups of fans with 32% layover is what I'm guessing. So I've got a group that want to come to every event, and they are, because they see how aggressive that schedule is. And our season passes are through the roof right now because, they've broken down to less than $10 a race. Well, buy a season pass, have a reserve seat. I'm going to make it worth your while. You come in with a hard card, and, maybe as a season pass holders, you get free soda. Those are the things that you just have to do to entice and make it more affordable. But yeah, we went from the Lucas Oil to the modifieds, and we're getting crazy response on the modifieds. You know what I mean? Like, I was nervous, but damn, they're so cool. You know what I mean? Like how could you not want to have those guys? And we can't. I just love to smell them. Like, when they come, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to huff gas the whole time I'm there. And but you know, that fuel they run, it just smells so good. And like I said, I've seen them a couple times, obviously with the World of Outlaws when they run in Charlotte, and another time, and you know, they're great. And you know, I'm so happy and fortunate to have them. You know, and then you know, we come back the next weekend on April the 2nd. I mean, it just doesn't stop. You know, we just keep going and going and going. And it's not long. You know, we come right back with the World of Outlaw late models, you know, at the end of April.
2 days.
And even between, we got OVSCA in between that. And it really, that's why the multi-day shows though are on there, because I've got that camping. I think I've got an option. I'm going to make it worth your while to show up and stay. And the first year we won't have hookups and all that stuff, but there's a gentleman trackside camping. I think he's already sold out for the year, so I'm gonna have to talk to him about a commission. And but a real nice guy, Rick Urig, he drives a push truck for us. He owns a little campground that's on the road right at the racetrack, and then you know, we'll add the camping on our side, and everybody can come and have a good time and enjoy these multi-day shows. And that's why we kind of stack the deck with those things. And we're gonna have some rainouts, and we know that. So you're in Ohio. I mean, you know how Ohio weather is. You know, best case, what are you going to get? 26, 30 shows maybe. But that also gives us the opportunity, maybe, just maybe, we sign a big time deal with the streaming service, and maybe, just maybe, it makes us worthwhile to start doing some midweek stuff. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to make sure that we fill our voids with is quality. You know, I'm not just going to throw, you know, there's only a handful of nights that don't have national series running. I mean, there's not many. But you're going to pay, you know, we pay our sprint cars real well, and our late models. You know, it's $3,000 to win a regular night sprint car, and $3,000 to win our late models. So it's nothing for us to pay, you know, $4,000 or $5,000. Now you get to these 10,000 purses, you know, now you got to start making sure you're really humping the gates. But that's kind of why we did it. So instead of having just these big independent races, we bring the sanctioning body in, because they really bring a lot. I mean, just the things that the World of Outlaws have tried to help us with so far. And, you know, then Mother's Day weekend, we have Bo Duke. We're doing the Bo Duke extravaganza. And man, that thing is going to be insane. That is going to be so cool. John Schneider and his wife are so nice and so helpful. We hope to get involved big time with some very, very stout children's charities to come in and do some things, because John is real passionate. This guy has a level of tolerance of people that I can't even fathom, to be honest with you. I mean, he literally just loves to interact with his fans. I mean, and genuinely loves it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, dude, like, how do you do this? Like, give me a break. And but he is awesome. So, you know, those are things too that people haven't really seen. John brings a concert, and they do church on Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they'll come in on like Thursday. You know what I mean? And we'll have a whole schedule of events. And those are we're going to do concerts. You know, I'm working on trying to do a couple concerts right now. We're inking the deals on a really cool monster truck show, tractor pulls. You know what I mean? I got to get so many different, because what that'll do is that brings in so many different crowds that I don't have to worry about always bringing in the same 2,000 people or 3,000 people, or, you know, hell, I want 5,000 every weekend. But how do I pull more people from different parts of the state or states? You know, as far south as we are, we have the, you know, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia
Right.
deal, you know, even Pennsylvania. So, you know, how do I get those people 4 times a year to come over and watch special events? And that's kind of the way you have to think anymore. You really got to do your demographic research and really try to drill down and get enough diverse groups of people from different areas geographically to kind of fill those seats.
Yeah, on the schedule, you've got, we mentioned OVSCA, the World of Outlaw late models, World of Outlaw sprint cars, All-Star Circuit of Champions, fast wing sprint cars, monster trucks. You mentioned the Roval earlier. The KC Classic. It's all there that has been there in the past, and then at least 7 to 8 additional events that are just making it bigger and better.
Yeah. Now, we were always Atomic. Always had big shows, big purse shows. They just in the past weren't really sanctioned events. And all I really did was, something that we did that was big. There were quite a few real big high dollar win purses. Well, when we talk to the sanctioning bodies and talk to different people about that, it's actually, we like the idea of maybe backloading the purses a little bit, pay a little bit more to show up. Pay a little bit more to make the show because there's more of those guys. Our overall purses, someone's like, oh, you're not doing a 25,000 to win or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because it's 25,000 to win and then 12,000 per second. And then, if it falls off the table by the time you get to fifth and it pays 500 to start, what's the point of that? I'd rather do a 10,000 to win with 1,000 to start or 2,000 to start. Like really spread the money out across. The guys want to win. Yeah, do they want the big purse? They do. But one guy gets that money and they want the trophy. And you can't tell me that nobody wants to win our World of Outlaw sprint car race. They haven't been there in years. These guys are chomping it. There are some of our guys like Cole Duncan and these guys. They want to win that race. They don't want to let David Gravel, Brad Sweet. They don't want to let them come into our house and win that race. And they're going to do it. I get my motors from Gressman's up in Fremont, and I should have charged them a commission too, because as soon as I announced World of Outlaws, they got guys like, hey, I need my motor rebuilt. I got to bring some big horsepower to compete. So so now when we start talking about backgate, what are my backgate strategies? How do I make that better? And I feel by making that better is by doing, let's backload a little bit. I want my local guys to show up. So I got to throw them a bone? Because a lot of them are like, well, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to win. So what? You can be a part of the World of Outlaw show at Atomic. Come to run as hard as you can, pick up a little money, and just be part of the show and have a good time. Be on Dirt Vision. Be a part. And, the big sanctioning bodies, they want them there. They want the local guys there. They need them. Right. They all want 40 cars. Everybody wants 40 cars
and that,
or more.
That makes a difference for your local drivers is too when it comes to sponsorships. If they come in and they run the All-Star Circuit of Champions, they're on Flow. If they run World of Outlaws, they're on Dirt Vision. That gives their sponsors a much broader audience, even if they are local or regional sponsors. So,
well, big thing is bring them. A lot of the local guys, because their sponsors are their buddies. It's right. The guy tab up shop up the street, or the guy that owns the HVAC company, or whatever. So, my thing to them is bring those guys. Those are some of the biggest events in the country. And, the big time asphalt guys, they're looking over their shoulder now, what Kyle Larson has done for dirt track racing. Everybody in dirt track racing, every time they get their check, we ought to have like a Kyle Larson fund, and he gets like $1 for every purse that's paid, because he, not just him, Christopher Bell, these guys, you see them getting involved, not just Chili Bowl. Chili Bowl is just crazy cool. Those guys want to be a part of that because it's cool. But what Kyle has shown is, why is he doing so well? And I think he attributes that, when he's talking to Chase Elliott, he's like, hey man, here's why I think I'm doing better, because these are the things that I'm doing in these dirt cars that are going to help you, in the asphalt world. And that's why I think these guys are getting involved. They're learning how to be aggressively patient and, not scrub speed by not turning the wheel. I've told a couple different stories about me trying to drive a 410, and, I look like I'm sawing logs, man. I'm just cranking on the wheel. And Kyle did a thing on Dale Jr. Download where he said, he was kind of making fun of guys because they get in the car and they're just cranking on the wheel. That's me all day long. Guys that help me are like, stop turning the wheel. I'm like, I know, I can't help it. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's where all the streaming media, I know a lot of promoters are afraid of it, but I'm going to embrace it and I want to capitalize on it. How do I use that? I use that streaming media in a different way. I'm going to show all those hundreds of thousands of millions of people, like you were talking about Australia. I want to show those Australians, hey man, if you make it over here, you want to come to my track. Trust me.
Right.
Put me on your list.
And there are, there are people who come, to the US. I've met them. They'll come over to the Brad Doty Classic, for example, on Wednesday. I think it's a Wednesday night, and then go to Eldora. And we want you guys to come. I know you're listening. I see the statistics on the back end of my website. We want you guys to come over. We want you to make it to Atomic and get to some of those other tracks. Keep going to Attica, keep going to Eldora, but
that list.
We've got the best dirt racing in the country, and that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it. So, well, we're running out of time here. Charlie, we appreciate what you're doing for the sport, what you're doing for dirt tracks in Ohio, and excited to see what's happening at Atomic. The schedule is huge, and it's exciting, man. I can't wait to get down there.
Yeah, I can't wait to get started because the way we left the end of the year and all the things that we're trying to. What sucks is when I start going through my list, I like almost have a panic attack because there's so much work that has to be done. And
looking at your schedule, I would be too.
Got so much to get done, and as long as we can do and get done, that grouping of things that we're trying to do, I think everybody's gonna. I think they're gonna come to the track, and I think once we get 3 or 4 or 5 events in, and you're standing there at 7:30. And the cars are on the track and the fans are having fun and the kids are still playing at the kids zone and at the playground, all the stuff that you envision a night, because that's kind of how we all do it. We think, okay, they're going to get there and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And once you see them as a true function of your evening, that's what I can't wait for. I just can't wait to see it all play out. So hopefully in a good way, hopefully not in a bad way.
Awesome. Well, we're hoping for huge success, great weather, safe racing all summer for you. We're definitely going to see you at the track. You can check out the website at atomicspeedway.net. Schedule is up there, and look for a new look to the website to be coming up here in the coming months. And Charlie, thanks for coming on the show this week.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you guys tuning in here to the Ohio Dirt Track podcast again. Check out our website, ohiodirt.com. Jacob Hord's articles are still going up. I'm still working on getting some more content up there as well. We got a few t-shirts left from the 2021 season. They're down to $10. So you can get those at ohiodirt.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook page as well. And we'll see you guys back. I believe our next episode for the Ohio Dirt Track podcast is 100, either 99 or 100. Either way, we'll be with you guys next week. And until next week, get out, get dirty, and support your local tracks.